I also think it's really adorable that Daifuku is sitting on his lap. That's what my Beepins does. My cat does this all the time. Like, oh, if we're gonna do some work, we're gonna do it together. It's cute. Maho, and welcome back to a wonderful review of Wonderful Precure. We're starting today with Don't Say It, It's Bad. I like that they actually have a sheep pun as the title. Like, I feel like our translators for Precure are like kind of beginning to get they're getting the gist of what Precure's like. So it's nice that they're getting their bearings, because this is what, the fourth season that Crunchyroll has subbed. Without further ado, we have finally gone to the Nico Garden, and it's really, really pretty. I am very happy with the way that they drew the Nico Garden. We revisit this crystal, which is what I have right now. This is not the crystal that we saw in the dark flashback. And then the crystal at the top of the tree in the distance, I believe, is like the real deal crystal, which hopefully will get more and more relevant as this goes on. This place is just beautiful. I love just like the purples, the blues, and the greens, as well as this is one of the most beautiful kingdomy areas that we've hung out in. I also get the impression that, similar to the previous season, we will be spending more time here. Whereas other seasons we're here for like all of 5 seconds. We're like, ah, it's pretty, and then we leave. I'm excited that we're gonna spend some more time with this area. It's also interesting that all the animals here say Nico. We get a little bit of information about the facts of this area. We learned that all the animals here came a long time ago and have essentially evolved to be different. Like, I think they said the ostrich was going to be too small compared to normal ostriches, and turtles have different shells, and all of them say Nico. And all of this is because of our very mysterious figure, Nico-sama. We also get to see the stock footage of Komugi transforming, which, I'll be honest with you, we see 3 times in this episode. I do hope that we'll do just some cuts after a while. Like, you know what, it's new, it's fresh to see her go from like human to dog, dog to human. But they do it 3 times this episode and 1 cutaway. I really do hope we don't have to see it an absurd amount after, like, in this episode. But we do get to see our product placement, which I think they did a good job this time, where gummies have always been a big staple as Precure merchandise that you can buy throughout the season. It's usually like gummies, chocolate, just small to eat things. But I think them actually weaving a narrative in this show for the existence of the gummies and the fact that they like heal the animals inside the garden is good. I like that they add that in there. I also think the design's really pretty. They're like little squishy paws, and then the paws are so used like, oh, we're gonna touch them together. It's like a real paw. I don't think this is going to be, I don't think it's gonna work out in their favor, but I do like that they put the effort into being like, dogs are not supposed to eat the gummies, but humans can eat it. And then we have Iroha like, I don't know if that's how that works. I don't know if we can just get away with giving gummies to a full human, but not the dog. I swear to you, this is gonna cause problems. They're trying. I give it to them that they're putting effort in trying, but the fact that I know there's chocolate flavors of these gummies out there, I'm like, y'all should have just not done the chocolate this season, because there are gonna be some animals having a bad time this year. But I do like I like our dorky face here. A for effort. Also, I love this. I don't know if I've seen this as sellable merch yet, but this is a really pretty teacup. As someone who, you know, is a little bit of a connoisseur when it comes to tea, would not mind this teacup. It's really pretty. They should have done tea as their pretty holic thing this year. Opportunity missed. Getting into the lore of this season, it looks like we don't get too much, but we do fill in some of the gaps that could have been inferred, which is that we don't know why the garden went dark. We don't know why everybody, or like a good amount of people, turned into Garu within the garden, because it's not everybody. We see plenty of animals still here, and the garden is back to normal when he came back, so I don't really know what all went down, but it looks like a lot of the Kyodine animals, which we will get into later, and a bunch of normal animals, or normal Nico animals, all got Garu-defied. And the crystal also looks like it got partially destroyed, which I don't think he explained what happened to the crystal. Also, Nico-sama has disappeared. We also get the impression with like how much, and it becomes a central focus of this episode, Nico-sama would be the one who would actually be very angry if the secrets of the Nico Garden got out. So it almost makes me wonder if like Nigo-sama ends up being more of the antagonist if he's someone who desperately wants these animals protected and is worried about like humanity ruining everything. So he like set up the concept of the gado-gado just to like attack humanity and get rid of humanity since they're the greatest threat to the garden. That would be kind of the direction I would assume they would go in, but that's just a theory for the moment. So it will be interesting to see what's up with that. I like that it's established that neither of them are really focused. I think that actually helps for what's going to come in this episode. I also like that Kamuka just sits there and she's like, we don't know what's going on. I guess we'll just... She's me. I'm like, well, we clearly don't know what's happening in this plot, so why bother, you know? I also adore how much, like, Iroha brings up Satoru. She's like, he's pretty good. He knows a lot of things. Even my mom said he's real smart, so I think we should totally refer to him. Which is, like, both a great way of making this episode about Satoru, but absolutely something a kid would say. He'd be like, I know this other smart kid. It's pretty cute. And of course Meimei is like, absolutely not. It's already a mistake that Iroha is over here joining, but you know, she gets a pass because she's a cure. Poor Meimei's gonna have it rough because we're gonna get like 2 more characters knowing the secrets. However, they are gonna be cures. But Meimei is so hilarious about this. We also learned that Meimei is a butler, so we do have more confirmation about Meimei's role in it. Meimei was the butler to Nigo-sama. And then this episode does what I kind of wish more modern series would do, because it's been such a backbone of any kind of show with a secret identity that the characters kind of accept that things are secret identity and we have to lie all the time. I like that Iroha is having a bit more of this like, look fam, this is not gonna work out. I can't lie to him. It's just not in the cards for us. I'm glad that we get to cover that with her, and I'm glad that that leads to what happens in this episode. Also importantly, Satoru also is like, she's keeping secrets from me, and I like how he's just sad about it. He's not like, she owes me answers, but he's also like, am I not trustworthy enough? Like, what's up with her? He's like very concerned, and it's pretty cute. I like that he's not also just an amorphous blob male character, because a lot of Precure has had the male characters kind of just be amorphous blobs who don't like think too hard on stuff, or they just like, even if they do have the I don't know what's going on, they don't do much about it. With like Takumi from Delicious Party, he was like, I know she's keeping secrets, but like I don't really know much, but that's it. I know she's keeping secrets. And it doesn't become relevant until around like the mid to late season. And Seiji learns about the cures pretty early on, but he also is from Happiness Charge and he just is there. He doesn't feel like much of a character. I gotta give it to them for having Satoru be in the first 3 episodes. In every episode, he's had a presence, he's had an opinion, he's had a personality. It's more than I've seen for most male characters, which is why I think a lot of us are like, is he gonna be the mid-season? Are we gonna have a mid-season male cure? Like, Tsubasa has really spoiled us for like having a male character be relevant. I don't think we're not gonna see him much next episode because we haven't seen Mayu much this episode. But I'm really happy that he's had a presence and he feels very natural in the story. Like, he seems to get as much focus as the other girl, like as much, like more focus to a character that would be a main character rather than a character that's like, they're just there. And we remember that they're part of like our friend group, but we don't see much of them. His name gets dropped a lot. In this episode, we also get to see a little bit, as much as Daifuku is only here for the first half of the episode, we actually really get to see a lot from Daifuku, especially since everybody also theorizes that Daifuku is our villain. Daifuku notices the Garu-Garu, alerts Satoru, also wants to keep Satoru away from the Garu-Garu egg. You see a lot more of like Daifuku's personality, which seems to be like somewhere between calm and stressed. Also, we see Satoru be pretty smart about this, because I think the episode summary said something along the lines of Satoru like took the egg or touched the egg, but Satoru didn't do any of that. Satoru was very smart the way his character's supposed to be about this, where he took notes, researched, but he never touched the egg, he never messed with it, which also just in general, if IRL, don't ever touch eggs that you find in the wild, especially bird eggs. There's a lot of reasons for that, but mostly like parents, like the bird parents won't come back for the eggs and stuff like that if you find them or if you touch them. So overall, like pretty on point for the way you should behave if you find a weird egg, a bad egg. Ultimately, Daifuku protects him, which I think is cute. Daifuku seems to know what's up. We also learn from Iraha and Komugi that the Garu-garus are noticed by animals like Komugi. I assume it's the same case for Daifuku. They notice them by smell, which I find very interesting because I thought it was kind of a sixth sense before, but they're like, no, we smell the Garu-garu. If there's a Garu-garu nearby, we straight up smell them. So we now know why the animals have this connection that the humans don't, which makes sense. Animals do have heightened senses. But I will say these two are absolute goobers this episode. They're like, we're gonna go hunt the Garu-garu, and they are premium amounts of useless for this whole bit. They're like, we're gonna go hunt it. I think there's been a couple of Precure seasons that do this early on. They're like, we're gonna go do the thing we're supposed to do. We're gonna hunt down what we need to find. And then it's just nothing. A whole lot of nothing happens. We get a little peek into Satoru's home and his room. I also love this like screenshot of someone Googling bird eggs and then putting a filter on it. It's choking me up a little bit that they didn't bother to draw it. This episode definitely in the animation department is not getting as much love as our first two episodes, but that's kind of par for the course. I also think it's really adorable that Daifuku is sitting on his lap. That's what my Beepins does. My cat does this all the time. Like, oh, if we're gonna do some work, we're gonna do it together. It's cute. We do have the scene of them going around and they notice the ducks. Someone let me know if the like gray duck, is that like an albino version of the duck? Is that why the duck is just like that slightly different color? Or is it one of those incidents where like a bird that is not the same type of bird has snuck in on the family? I don't know much about ducks. Help me out. We have Satoru go back out and he doesn't bring Daifuku, which I guess is just to avoid any of like having Daifuku. Like either Daifuku is not in this scene because it would be kind of a pain to have both of them animated here and Satoru constantly protecting Daifuku, but also potentially because there are some theories about Daifuku having him be present for this whole fighting with the Garu or running away from the Garu. Garu would have been a little bit more tricky. Interesting things to think about. I also find it funny the entire time that Satoru is running around. I'm like, I remember in a certain episode one that you talked about how dang fast rabbits are. So good luck. But they did include the fact that Satoru hid and was trying not to make noise, which was smart. But he ultimately he becomes very aware of what a Garu is. And Satoru very adorably, like, when the girls show up, he's like, run! Run! You're not gonna be able to outrun it, run! It's adorable! It's adorable to see people protect him. But Iroha is a cure. She will not take that sitting down. She fights back. She transforms. It's so cute! And then we have this adorable sequence where Satoru watches Komugi transform for the first time, and he's like, the dog talks. The dog's a human. The dog's a magical girl. It's adorable. And then we have our little chase sequence for the episode. Satoru kind of sits there like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, listen buddy, we know what's up. And then very disrespectfully, we see Friendy's shield for the first time, and it fails. This is such a bad omen for Friendy. For those of you who do not know, in the world of Precure, Shield characters often get the short end of the stick when it comes to Precure. If you've been demoted to a shielder, which we already know that both characters have a shield, and I think all characters from the season are gonna have a shield, but man, if your shield doesn't work, you get roasted like Kiranje from Haguto. A little bit of Cure Coral from Tropical Rouge. We've had some rough times with shielders. Some can hold it together, but oftentimes not so much. I also think they did a good job at having Satoru be support for the battle, him sitting there being like, oh, here's a fun fact about rabbits, that's why we're gonna win this battle, which specifically is that if rabbits tap their feet, it's a sign that they're agitated and on alert. It's mostly because apparently Komugi was pulling. The girls seamlessly use these tactics, they manage to purify the Garu, and we find out about the Kiradine animals. Which, one of the things that was interesting about this Garu, which I'll have to check with the other ones, is that it had a crystal on its head, which I think is how we're going to be able to tell if it's going to be a normal animal or a Kiradine animal. And specifically, Kiradine animals are more special ones, aka they're going to be our merch animals that we'll be collecting through the season. I have to count how many there were again. I think it was like 8 or 9 total. They're also incredibly tight. The world's tiniest little rabbit. Also, shout out to them saying, we're Precure, and Satoru being like, knowledge, you say? Knowledge? Don't mind if I do. I like that he's got a comedy bit to him. I think the series has been so silly, and he's like one of the least silly characters thus far. We gotta throw some comedy in there for him. It's adorable. I think that means we get to see his downfall in future episodes. We get to see him mess up the way everybody else has. Because I think the one other thing that happens with a lot of the male characters throughout the Precure franchise is they tend to be like either very serious to the point where they're like problematic with anger issues, or they're just kind of perfect. Somebody like it's just like Seiji, where he doesn't really do anything wrong in the series. He never does any problems. He's just kind of there. I feel like we gotta have somebody like Tsubasa was great because Tsubasa messed up a bunch and he was a goofy, silly kid. So I'm hoping we're getting that vibe with Satoru, where he just like, even if he's not a cure, I want him to be a more well-rounded character and not feel like a piece of milk toast standing in the background. We also see that the like destruction on the crystal, you know, understandably so, is just near the crystal and Mei is picking it up. I don't know how relevant that is. I don't know how hard the repairs are, but like we don't have to go hunting down for shards of the crystal. They're just there on the ground nearby. I don't know if like this was really an important detail, but I'm like, oh yeah, look at that. We don't have to collect pieces of something this season. We just have to collect the kid-eating animals. And we also brought Satoru with us because of course we did. Like our group like knows no limits. They're like, we're just gonna bring the whole of Animal Town. Like, you know, it happens. I like how casually it happens. Like the whole secret thing is not something that's a big deal this season, which is very nice. I don't know how it's gonna blow over with parents, but I do love how comedically we just like, I guess Satoru's here. I told you he was gonna be, like, you know, you can't keep secrets from it's Satoru. Believe it or not, Mei was not super excited about that. But Satoru, very much in a Satoru way, was like, hey man, I mean, we gotta protect the world and I've got the power of knowledge and we can work together. Also very calmly says that he's not a cure, but he has the same dreams as a cure, which, I mean, you can be a cure. I'm not stopping you. You can be a cure. I'm not saying you can't. But I get the impression that these two characters are going to get along, and I expect there to be a little bit of goofy silliness in terms of the interpersonal relationships, because I'm getting the impression that Satoru and Mei is going to be Satoru's fairy, while Komugi and Iroha, I think, are going to get on Mei's last nerve. So I'm interested to see how that goes. I also love Satoru's kind of cheeky here. Satoru was like, hey, by the way, Nico-sama isn't here. We don't have to tell him. I was like, oh, okay, buddy. We'll be a little sneaky. You know, keeping a little eye there. Interesting. But ultimately things work out. Satoru's like, I get it. No hard feelings. I'm now part of the team. We can trust each other and we can save the world together, which, I mean, it's cute that that's always been their dream. Like, Satoru and Iroha have both had this passionate love for animals that they express in their own way. And now they get to do it as a team. Also, we haven't seen any traces of, like, Komugi's jealousy towards Satoru that's hinted at the opening, which I appreciate. No drama yet. And we get this cute little cut of the three of them being like, look guys, we got another member of the team. Look how adorable we are. And that's the note we're gonna end on for this week. So thanks for watching. If you guys have any theories or opinions or anything else, please leave them down below. And I will see you next time. Bye bye!